Hi, this is Lauren Lakis, and you are listening to my chapter on As the Story Grows.
Welcome to the next chapter of As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. This week, we welcome singer and actress Lauren Lakis to the podcast. Lauren is an artist I discovered on Bandcamp and quickly became a fan of. She released Daughter Language earlier this year. Lauren is also an actress who stars in the movie Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk, which is currently available for free on Amazon. Check it out. Lauren talks about her early reverence for music that kept her from writing her own songs, how a break-in helped her pursue acting, and unpacking her role as a daughter through music. This was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy getting to know Lauren Lakis. What has you in Austin?
I just got kind of sick of LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got sick of it. I mean, I already started to feel kind of sick of it, and then I attempted to move to Portland in the wintertime, like right before COVID, and
Oh, man.
I don't recommend moving to the Pacific Northwest in January. So I moved back to LA like April 1st last year.
It's a good time to be in California, right?
Amazing.
Sick of this place, and I will be stuck inside for the next year.
Yep.
Why Austin?
Yeah. It's warm still. It's very warm actually. And the music scene here. Gotcha. And I act too, so I can still do that here. And honestly, I mean, you can kind of be anywhere at this point.
Right.
But yeah, just better quality of life. Like, I don't know. I don't want to pay $1,600 a month for rent anymore.
Yeah, I feel that. I was reading about the Great Migration from Californians to Texas. That's like a thing.
Dude,
it's crazy.
Is. Yeah.
I was like, well, don't move to California. And I did not. So awesome. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Baltimore.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Because aren't you in Philly?
I'm back in Maryland now. I just moved
really?
like a month ago. Yes.
Wait, where in Maryland?
I'm in Montgomery County. I'm in Rockville.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Yeah. I grew up like in the city.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, kind of. It wasn't really that nice. Well, to be fair though, I was pretty much in Fells Point.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool.
That's pretty nice. Yeah. Yeah. Fells Point is like nice. That's where, I don't know. I've not been to Baltimore in so long. It used to be like you could go certain places and not other places, but
yeah, I mean, if you're in Fells Point, if you go like 3 blocks in a certain direction, like it's not nice. You're gonna like have to fend for your life a little bit. But
yeah, we used to go to Autobar all the time.
Yes,
and it's like,
me too.
If you parked your car in the wrong spot, it's like you're gonna lose a window.
Yeah. Yep.
So what was childhood like in Baltimore?
I mean, like I always compare Baltimore City to a real life Gotham City. Like The Wire.
Yeah.
That is accurate.
I love it. Yeah, it is.
That is Yeah, so I mean, like, it was nice to grow up on the water, like right on the Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time like on like my mom's boyfriend had a boat, and so we would go out there all the time. And I like people are very real in Baltimore City, and so I appreciate that, and I think it made me appreciate just like genuine people and be able to like spot genuine people very easily. And I love dark art. I appreciate dark art. Um, yeah, because it's kind of a dark place. So yeah.
Yeah. That comes through in your music. It's all
Oh,
piecing
thank you.
together now.
It
The
all makes
darkness, sad girl breakfast. It all like works out.
Exactly. Yeah, it's direct Baltimore influence right there.
There we go. What came first, your love for acting or your love for music, or was it kind of simultaneous in like music theater?
No, definitely music was first. I actually was never really like a big film buff.
Okay.
I mean, even now, it's kind of embarrassing. There are so many classic films that I haven't seen. Um, but yeah, definitely music first. But I feel like I was just not confident at all, so I just never really pursued it. Like for me, music was so important that I think I was like, I dare not write my own songs and taint music as a whole or something. Like, I don't know. I just, yeah, it was like so holy and just, I don't know. I looked at a lot of musicians as like just angels or something, it was like, I dare not touch it or something. But, yeah, like luckily I got over that. I'm like, oh, we're all just imperfect artists, I guess.
Yeah. What were those records, or what was the thing that got you into music, that fueled this passion, this godlike wonder at music?
Like when I was a kid, or what
or
made
in
me
general later, what was?
Well, I mean, I think when I was a kid, I always looked up to female musicians that were really loud and outspoken and unapologetic and just so themselves, I have mixed feelings about Courtney Love now, because like as an adult, I'm just like, ooh, I don't know if we would actually get along and be friends. But, as like a 14-year-old with no self-esteem, I was just like, oh wow, she's so punk rock, and I just really appreciated that a lot. And yeah, like Shirley Manson and PJ Harvey and just like I loved all the 90s ladies. Cat Power. Yeah. So yeah, and then I finally kind of let go of like, well, I really just was put into surrender mode. Personally, I had sang in a band probably back in 2013, 2014. And then I went through just this really horrendous time personally. Breakup, mom was in a car accident, just everything, all at once. And I took this road trip. I just drove across the country and back, and I was listening to all of my favorite female artists, and I just felt like I wasn't alone. And at that point I had been acting for a while, and so I kind of had an idea of entertainment in general. And I at that point was like, screw it, I'm just gonna write my own album, and I don't care if it sucks.
Yeah.
So that's a very powerful place to write from or create anything from.
Yeah. Is that the like early stages of what would become Ferocious, or even pre that?
Yeah, that would become Ferocious. So it always astonishes me, even today, to hear people that like really love ferocious.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like I didn't know what I was doing at that point, you know. But I think maybe that's part of the appeal of it too. Is it's just so raw and there's nothing technically perfect. I mean, luckily I did have a producer.
Yeah.
God bless him, who would let me know if things were like out of key, but it was just all feeling the whole thing. So, yeah.
I think that's why people tend to gravitate towards debut albums for many artists. It's like that, like, it's that record you've been writing your whole life that you get to put out there, and then it's just like this unbridled, like, I don't know what I'm doing, just here it's all over the place, like, fuck it, here's my art, right? Like,
yeah, it's really powerful, and I think all artists need to know that you're gonna make bad art, quote unquote. But it's special.
Yeah, I was trying to listening to the new album and going back, like trying to figure out like if I could figure out a headspace of your influence. But when you say like PJ Harvey, Shirley Manson, like all that comes through, and I'm like, okay, I hear that.
Yeah, there's definitely a 90s influence, I think, to mostly everything that I've put out at this point. But yeah, like I remember I was into hardcore and then I was into more electronic stuff. So I think I can appreciate pretty much all the genres as long as it's real, you know, and not overly polished and overproduced. Yeah, that whole genuine thing again.
At what point did you decide, like, I want to try my hand at acting too?
So I was in school and I mostly was focusing on photography. And I randomly took an acting class just because I had some other elective that I needed to fill. So I took acting and I was really in love with it because I think the common thread throughout all of the creative stuff that I've done is just wanting to tell a story, the human story. Like what is it like to be human? And I think we have to tell stories so that we all feel less alone. And so I fell in love with acting, and I was all conflicted inside because I had just devoted everything to photography. And then one day my car was broken into in Baltimore City. And the only reason all this stuff was in my car is because I was going to the darkroom that day. So just in one go, they grabbed a bag that had my camera, a box of every single print, like all my best prints. And then a binder with every negative that I had ever made in my life. You know, like this thick. Just gone. It was like any evidence that I was a photographer. Just gone. So that's how that happened. I was like, well, okay.
That's rough. I like that there's this thread of like photography and music and like acting. It's just like not, I don't know. Have you ever felt like you needed to pick a lane, or it's just like I could just be creative and express different parts of my personality in these different ways, and just I don't have to have one stick. I can do it all.
I did feel pressure to pick a lane. I'm not really sure why. I mean, especially at that point when I almost felt guilty for loving acting. It's like, why? You can do multiple things.
Yeah.
And I guess with acting and music with that combination, I don't really have much judgment about it now, but I think sometimes like there is judgment from people that are like, oh, well, she's an actress, so she can't be taken seriously as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think nowadays that's not really something that I experience anymore.
Yeah. Were there any people you looked up to who were kind of doing it both? Or that was like Juliette Lewis, who had her rock band, or Amber Tamblyn doing like poetry on the side, or was it just like you're in your own headspace?
I've never really thought about that. I mean, Juliette Lewis, I definitely respect and look up to a lot, but interestingly, not because she's both an actor and a musician. Yeah, I haven't really made that connection with any of the women that I look up to now, to be totally honest. Most, I'm thinking of like Zooey Deschanel.
Mm-hmm. That's another one. Yeah.
I tend to like them for one thing.
Yeah.
And not really for both.
I'm trying to think about like actors or people who are doing both. And I'm like, yeah, like Bacon Brothers aren't very good band, or like Russell Crowe's band or whatever. Like, I don't know.
I think what tends to happen is one of the things tends to take off.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I know for me, like if one of the things really popped off in a huge way where it's like I had to devote all my time and energy to it, then that's what I would have to do. The other would take a back seat a little bit.
Yeah. So I assume acting brought you to LA.
Yes, indeed.
Was your try to make it work from there?
What was the question? Was I trying to make it work from there?
Well, yeah, that was your try to make it work. Like, I know people always talk about that struggle of like, I moved to LA with my heart full of dreams and like, nobody wants to talk to me. What was your experience like trying to find work as an actress?
Well, to be honest, I had spent about 4 months in Tokyo before I moved to LA, and I was auditioning in Tokyo. So like that was such a crazy and alienating experience that like moving to LA. Why?
Yeah, why Tokyo? Why? What took you there that you would try to make it work there first?
Well, I didn't move there specifically for acting.
You just went there because
I just went. I was teaching English there a little bit. Yeah, it just like random. I really like to travel. So yeah, I was like, well, I think before moving to LA, because I knew once you're in LA that you can't leave really. Yeah. It's really difficult. So I was like, I better go travel before I do that. So yeah, I did that, and then somehow ended up like auditioning in Tokyo. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go to LA now. So to be fair, having that really difficult experience before going to LA made LA seem like not really such a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard. The first year in LA is so weird. Everything is weird. The people, like all of it, but they're also amazing. Mm-hmm. So, because yeah, you're in the city full of other people who had that same thought of like, I have a dream and I'm gonna do this crazy thing and just try it. I was broke as a joke. Like, I think, yeah, but that's also part of the fun.
Yeah.
No, you're like barely surviving and it's so fun.
It's the same as any musician or band that goes on tour. And it's like you sleep in a van and you're just like, it was the best summer of my life and we lost $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first like acting gig where you were like something you landed where you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it, or like that moment of like
well, I had started acting in films when I was still living in Baltimore.
Okay.
So I was auditioning for things in Maryland, DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and I was booking some small indie films and some random commercials and industrials and things. And then I don't even remember how exactly this happened, but I booked a role in Ed Sanchez. He is the guy who directed the Blair Witch Project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so he lives
If
in
randomly I
Maryland.
know him. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what happened was a friend had invited me to do a reading for Lovely Molly. And so I had to go to Ed's house, and the reading took place in his basement. And he's a huge Star Wars fanatic.
Mhm.
So his whole basement is just nothing but Star Wars stuff. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, this movie is not cast yet. There are some female roles in here. This is not an audition, but this is an audition. So, yeah, I tried my best to like look cool, but not look like I tried too hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that fine balance. And I did the reading, and I ended up getting cast as like a smaller role, like one of Molly's friends. And it was SAG. So I became SAG eligible because of it, which was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I ended up going to South by Southwest in Austin to watch it for the first time. And so I'm sitting there at South by, Ed's right there, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, cool, all my scenes are deleted.
Oh, no.
And Ed turns to me and he's like, I'm really sorry. I'm like,
Oh my God.
like, yeah. Wish I would have been told before. Still would have come and supported and watched it. But yeah, there's like one little like blip of me laughing, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was still really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, looking through your filmography, you got like some music videos in here for Guar music video. Asking Alexandria, like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. I can do it all. Yeah. I did that Guar video before moving to LA too. That we shot in Virginia.
But it seemed like the acting thing started to take off for you. I mean, pre-COVID anyways, like you were in Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk, which is a phenomenal film name. I watched the trailer today and I was like, I want to watch that movie.
You should.
It looks wild.
Yeah. It's a really good movie.
It looks like something that kind of really happened to a cousin of mine.
Probably. Yeah. I can't say this about a lot of the movies that I've been in, but this one is a really good movie. I highly recommend it. It's my favorite film I've ever worked on. But yeah, it's very true to life. The author, Tony Duchesne, he wrote a book by the same name, and Eric Stoltz ended up directing this film. I think he actually put up a lot of his own money in order to produce it because the story was that important to him. And Tony was on set to oversee everything. He was part of the script writing process. In fact, he probably wrote the script, actually. Anyway, I could gush about that film.
Yeah, that's awesome. But you had some roles on Big Little Lies, Rosewood, Dr. Ken, like Big Little Lies. I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's a good show too. That's a really good show. All-star cast. Yeah. I had like a small role in one episode, and yeah, that was a big deal for me too. But I think like I'm very grateful that I was able to have a lot of success in LA in acting. But it kind of got to this point for me where I felt like unless I'm a series regular on a show, again, I want a better quality of life. Like I don't want to keep chugging along on this grind just to book a co-star once a year or something. I could see how it goes year by year.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I worked with a bunch of actors who would do voiceover work, and they would go down to Baltimore and like they'd have a day where they'd be a dead guy on The Wire or Homicide before The Wire. And it was like, yeah, he was a corpse in this episode, and that is his role for the day. So yeah, you see the struggle and how tough it can be. We'll switch gears to your music. Earlier this year, you released Daughter Language back in January. I'm curious how COVID affected this release, if at all, or COVID gave you time to work on it and perfect it.
Yeah. So I actually don't feel like COVID was detrimental at all to the release of it. I feel like one of the benefits of last year was that people had a lot more time to consume media, and they were looking for it. They were actively seeking it. And there wasn't a whole lot of new music that was coming out. So I felt like I was able to garner a little more attention maybe than I would have if it were normal times. So I was able to get a lot of good press. And people were really supportive as well, just fans who were willing to donate to live stream shows or buy merch or just straight up like donate just for the heck of it. And yeah, I had a lot more time and a lot of time to just think about what kind of videos I wanted to make, or like what kind of art should go with each single, and actually have time to release. I think it was 5 tracks before the album, and every track had a different theme to it and different art to be made along with it. And that was really, really fun. So yeah, I was blessed to receive more than enough unemployment money than, I could have asked for. And just time, because I've been such a workaholic pretty much forever. It's kind of a Baltimore thing too. There's some sort of work ethic there. So yeah, to just like chill and just like lay in a park and let my imagination go and think about how I wanted to do things was so wonderful.
Is there a theme on this record? It seems like whether or not lyrically connected, like you had an aesthetic and vibe you were going for.
Well, so it's called Daughter Language. Yeah. And so a lot of it was me kind of pondering all the ways that I show up as a daughter, whether it's the daughter of my mother, the daughter of my father, the daughter of, God after being raised in Catholic school my whole life, the daughter of all of my ancestors leading up to this point in time. That's a lot to unpack, Yeah. So, yeah, and it kind of encapsulates everything in life. I feel like the way that we're raised, our different influences, it just totally impacts our behaviors today, our mindsets, everything. So yeah, it's kind of a question of why am I the way that I am, and just musing on that a little bit.
That's cool. I saw you just played a show. It's your first show.
Yeah.
Real show for the record. How was that?
Oh, it was so cool. It was so magical. Yeah, it was out in Joshua Tree in the desert. My set time was right at sunset. It was so freaking cool. The best first show back. I have another show booked now for Houston. Yeah. Also at a very rad venue, but I'm like, I don't know how the second show is going to compare to the Joshua Tree show. Yeah, that one, yeah, I don't know what to say about that one. It was very cool. It was very cold.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and the audience was very warm and receptive, and there was just no talk of COVID. I'm just so tired of talking about it. And I was like, oh God, like, is this just going to be a night of everybody talking about it? But it wasn't.
That's awesome. How many COVID questions have I asked you tonight?
Oh, I mean, but you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this record's been out since January. It's phenomenal. What's the rest of the year look like for you? And you're in Austin now. Is your hope to try to tour at some point, or get back into acting and you have something coming up? Or
Yeah. So as far as music goes, I just recorded 6 songs in Portland in January. So yeah, I mean, that's the other thing with COVID. Bring up COVID. I had a lot more time to write and demo things. So, and a lot of the stuff that I was writing last year, I mean, you were there last year. You got to experience all of it too. Some of these tracks are a little more aggressive, honestly, this newer stuff. Yeah, I needed to just let some things out. And yeah, so I'm finishing that up. Needs to be mixed and all of that. So I'm thinking about what that release is going to look like. Probably not till 2022, when things are like all the way normal and tours are without a doubt going to happen. So yeah, and I mean, I'm based in Austin now, so I definitely want to start playing locally. And having been in LA, I've toured the West Coast and the Southwest a lot. So it would be great to use this as a home base and even go up the East Coast. I've never played Baltimore. So yeah. And then with acting, it's so funny. And this is how life works all the time. As soon as I left LA, I've been booking acting work like crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it's great. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing this, I guess. Just keep doing, honestly, I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, it's like, I think if you just follow your heart, everything falls into place. But yeah, I did an episode of, there's this new show on HBO. It's called The Sex Lives of College Girls. And I did an episode of that in March, and I actually get to play and sing on that one, even though it's a comedy. It's a very funny song. And then I'm actually going to fly to Portland at the end of this month to work on a film called Showing Up. It's directed by Kelly Reichardt. It's going to be out through A24. I don't know if you're familiar with A24, but they have put out pretty much every single one of my favorite movies that have come out in the last few years.
All right.
So
right.
That's very exciting for me. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there something inspiring you differently musically as you write these days, or is it just being more comfortable in who you are as a singer-songwriter?
Yeah, I'm really happy these days.
Yeah.
Like just very happy and very much at peace with myself. Just very grateful and very content. And yeah, so I feel like, and of course being in Austin now too, I feel a little more influenced by Western styles. And yeah, I think at some point there's probably going to be a slightly country they're just like a little country inspired. Yeah, buy records. Even if you don't buy my record, just buy records from artists, because damn, Spotify sucks. And yeah, we put a lot into it, and yeah, it means a lot to artists when you actually buy like the physical product. So thank you, Brian, for buying the record.
Thanks for listening to As the Story Grows. Our theme song was written and composed by the legendary Bob Nana. If you like what you hear, subscribe on iTunes and give the show a rating and review. If you'd like to support the show financially, click on the Patreon link at asthestorygrows.com. If you enjoyed this episode, share it on social media with your friends. Much appreciated, and thanks for listening.